All right, who was Melchizedek Jesus? If so, why wasn't he called an angel of the Lord like other Old Testament appearances? And if not, who was this Melchizedek guy? King of Peace out of Salem, one of Christ's many titles. So appears to on the scene. Abraham pays these tithes to him. He's a king. He's a priest. Who is this guy?
The reason that the question is being asked is because of the book of Hebrews, and I believe Hebrews was written by Paul the Apostle. There's really early church testimony to that fact, and he's writing like a rabbi. And in Hebrews chapter 7, he speaks about Melchizedek, and he says, "For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all," first being translated king of righteousness, and that's what Melchizedek means, and then also king of Salem, and that's what he's called in Genesis chapter 14, meaning king of peace. You're probably familiar with salam. The Arabs say salam all the time, and that's a Semitic language, and Salem means peace. Salam means peace also. Meaning king of peace, without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like the Son of God, remains a priest continually. Consider how great this man was, to whom even the patriarch Abraham gave a tenth of the spoils. And indeed, those who are of the sons of Levi who receive the priesthood have a commandment to receive tithes from the people according to the law, that is, from their brethren, though they have come from the loins of Abraham. But he whose genealogy is not derived from them received tithes from Abraham and blessed him who had the promises. And then he goes on to talk about Levi in a type paid tithes through Abraham, his grandfather, to Melchizedek. And so the other thing that Paul's going to do in Hebrews chapter 7 is he's going to refer to a passage in the book of Psalms where, and it's messianic, where it talks about Jesus as a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek. And no, I don't believe that Melchizedek was Jesus. And so that would be the reason that he's not called the angel of the Lord in the passage. I think Melchizedek was a real life guy. And that what Paul is doing here is using Melchizedek as a type. It's, when he says without father and without mother, the point that he's making is, typically speaking, if you're looking at the type, you have a situation where Melchizedek's mom and dad aren't mentioned, and so he would be without genealogy also. And so Melchizedek's lineage is not mentioned, and so he's without father, without mother, and so on. And that kind of stuff. You gotta keep in mind that when you're speaking typically, as far as the models that you have in the Old Testament, that it doesn't, just because Hebrews says that doesn't mean that he didn't really have a dad. So, for example, God, when he's speaking to Abraham in Genesis 22, God says to Abraham, "Take your son, your only son, whom you love, and offer him in the place that I tell you." And immediately, if you know your book of Genesis, you know that there's an issue there, because did Abraham have one son and only one son? And the answer is no. He had two sons, and one was Isaac, and the other one was Ishmael. But Ishmael was a son of the flesh, and Ishmael isn't regarded by God in Genesis chapter 22. Because what God's doing there is he's making the situation that Abraham's going to go through a type of what he's going to do with his own son. And so Jesus is the only begotten son of the Father, and it took Abraham 3 days to get to Mount Moriah, and Abraham considered Ishmael to be a dead man for 3 days. And so typically, in type, he received his son, who he considered to be dead, on the third day. And it's a picture of the resurrection.
So
and
cool.
Obviously, yeah. And there's all kinds of stuff in that passage. And so with Abraham and Melchizedek, you've got a type there of a higher priesthood than what you have with the priesthood of Aaron. Because again, Aaron comes from Levi. Levi was a grandson of Abraham, right? It goes, Isaac, Jacob, no, he's a great-grandson of Abraham. And so Levi is giving tithes through Abraham to Melchizedek. It's really interesting that when Melchizedek comes to visit Abraham, he offers him a meal of bread and wine.
Uh-huh.
So he's giving the guy communion, in that passage, and then Abraham gives him tithes. And so I think that Melchizedek was a real guy. As far as one of the other things that we have with that is that we look at Melchizedek and we go, well, Abraham's the father of faith, and Abraham is the father of the nation of Israel, and that's how God was reaching the world. And so how is Melchizedek a priest of God? And one of the things that you have to remember is that they all got off the ark. So Noah's family got off the ark, and Noah's family dispersed into different places as far as the descendants. You have the sons of Ham, and you have the sons of Japheth, and you have the sons of Seth. And Abraham is of the sons of Seth. And Ham, for example, some of the sons of Ham were the Egyptians. And the sons of Japheth, for example, some of them were the Greeks and the Romans. And so you have the population of the earth dispersing at the Tower of Babel. And the fact that Abraham is following God and he's got this special relationship with God doesn't mean that God didn't have a witness in the rest of the earth anyplace. And so Melchizedek is a leftover from the traditions that would have been handed down from Noah to his sons. And so Melchizedek was a faithful follower of God who happened to be outside of the Hebrew nation at that time. And so Abraham recognized that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When God chose him out of Ur of the Chaldees and doing this whole work, it doesn't mean he's the only
Yeah, exactly.
person on the earth that God's speaking to.
Yeah. God's working in everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.